guys, John Faulkner here with Chris Weatherman, Matt Tate, and Joel Graves from American Survival Company. And we wanted to sit around because Matt and Joel teach classes on a pretty much a weekly basis. So make sure you check them out. AmericanSurvivalCo.com, right?
Yep.
AmericanSurvivalCo.com. But we're sitting around here just a little bit, just talking, taking a break from shooting some videos. And, you know, this is kind of how Chris and we evolve into conversations.
This is how most things start, like this right here.
Yeah,
exactly,
so
with us.
So we open the camera.
Or we're in the truck.
Yeah, and this video is all about, you know, the four of us have taught classes. Matt and Joel here teach classes, like I said, on a weekly basis.
Yeah, they're professionals at doing it.
We've also taken a lot of different classes, from survival classes to firearms classes to medical classes, and it's one of those things that you constantly see students that are not prepared for the class. You know, mentally, physically, their gear's not ready. So we thought we would take just, you know, a little bit of time and really talk from a student and an instructor side of what you should be prepared for going into a class.
To
because,
make your learning experience better.
Yeah.
Some things you can do to get more out of the classes.
So we're going to kind of just go down the line here. Matt, what do you try to lead off with, man, if you could just get to your students of like, this is how I want you to come to a class, what would you kind of start with?
The first thing is, if it's looking like rain or even snow where I'm at, don't avoid going to the class because the weather's not necessarily ideal, because you're going to go and get so much. If we're doing a friction fire or any kind of fire, you're going to have to work through problems in the rain or in bad environmentals that you're not going to have to on a nice day like this. So you're going to get way more out of the class. You're going to work through those problems and find the solutions that particular environmental condition is going to bring. And the big deal is you don't want to be encountering that for the first time when it counts. You know, so a lot of times people will be like, oh, it looks like it's going to be raining, I don't want to come to class. And I get that. We're creatures of comfort. We all like to be comfortable. But that is a perfect environment that's safe, and it's a good way to learn. It's a controlled environment, a good place to learn those skills that you don't want to be learning the first time out on the trail when your life is on the line.
And I love when people say the phrase, if it's raining, we're training. I feel like for like the last 2 years, if I'm training, it was raining. Yeah. Like every freaking, it didn't matter where I went to. It didn't matter. Didn't matter what state, what skill, it didn't matter. It was raining. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic one. I would also say, if there's even the remote chance of weather that you're heading to a class, like if it's 2% rain, still bring rain gear.
Yeah, pack your rain gear. Well, that should be a part of your kit anyway. Yeah. You know, you should be ready to live in the conditions. One of the things that cracks me up is when we do a little event, people will say, you know, well, where are we sleeping? You're going to live out of your ruck. Well, what about food? You're going to live out of your ruck. If we're going to do this on a realistic plane, some of the classes that we do, and not all the stuff's that way, but it's a damn good experience for people. Like like Matt just said, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn all that crap that's in there that you don't need, and boy, all those things that you sure wish you had. And don't be afraid to do it. You know, I think a lot of people buy a lot of kit. They like to keep it looking new and shiny, and they're afraid to use it. I've seen people that, you know, don't want to use their stuff. It's new. I just got it. Well, let's break it. Let's see if it'll break. Let's see if it's going to work. You know, again, these are all things you're supposedly staking your life on at some point, potentially. So don't be afraid to use that stuff. You know, and get out there and do it. You know, take the training classes. Go to them. Yeah. Go see these guys.
That's the other thing, is a lot of people, I think, teeter on, do I want to go? Not based on do they have the desire to go, but I don't really want to go and be the person that doesn't know anything. But that's why we go to classes.
I get that a lot, for sure. And there is no shame in that at all. We've gone away from these kind of skill sets. And the point of guys like us is to speed the learning curve for you. There's a plethora of information out there, and that's kind of our job, is to guide you on that journey quicker than like even we had to acquire it. And there's no shame, and like I've taught a lot of fathers how to fish so that they could teach their kids, and I'll get people wanting to do it in a private class, and I'm like, oh no, it's not a big deal, you know. But people are. That is the thing. Guys are embarrassed that they don't know these skill sets.
It's leaving the ego at the door.
Yeah, there's no ego in any of this stuff. One thing that definitely helps. Like I grew up in the country, you know, a little kid carving, whittling sticks and things like that. A lot of people have zero knife skills. Like they don't even cook for themselves anymore. And so, I mean, like in our setup, we kind of have classes that are designed to, you know, crawl, walk, run, which is great, but it's all interchangeable. One thing that I find slows up classes because it's a safety issue is not knowledge and just basic hand tool use. Yeah. And you're there to acquire that, but when you come from not even using a butter knife on your toast to trying to do some of the stuff that we need to get done out here in the woods, it slows things down. Those kind of skills definitely would help. As far as being physically fit, it depends on the class, and you really gotta trust your school to give you that information. Whatever school you seek out, we tend to pride ourselves on good customer service, and I'll spend hours on the phone with a customer that's trying to make up his mind, because I know, like, we try to price it reasonably, and some people, it's not something they can truly afford to do all the time, so they want to get the best out of their experience, and we try to set them up with success. Like a couple weekends ago, we tried to run a class in the Everglades, and obviously that's going to take a lot more gear because our goal there was to fish, to handline fish through the swamp. And so there's some classes or types of training that might have kind of a prerequisite. Like with that, we kind of expected that you at least know how to camp in a basic sense. I'm there to help you, but there was a hike involved with that, and weight and pounds of pain, and you learn all those lessons too. But there's just really talk to these companies that are giving this training, and they should let you know. If
they're being honest, they're going to be honest with you and tell you. You know, you brought up a point too about the cost of classes. Now, that I think is one of the biggest aversions people have.
Yeah,
people love spending money on stuff.
Yep.
Knives, axes, guns, ammo, cool hammocks and tents and pots and pans.
Multiples.
And multiples thereof. You know, we love to spend money on that stuff, but people have an aversion to then going and spending money to get the training to teach them to properly use those implements. You know, I would organize your budget for your prepping, survival, however you want to call it, so that you have money in your budget and you plan on taking training.
Absolutely.
You know, if you carry a firearm for self-defense and you're not prior military or prior law enforcement, and I'm not saying those guys are gods by any imagination, but they at least understand safe firearms handling and how to employ them. And you carry a gun now as a civilian, you should damn sure go take a class from a qualified instructor. And we're going to hang on for a minute.
They found us.
So Life Flight can come over. Yeah, NSA is coming over right now.
Yeah, they found us.
You got to be coming right over.
They're coming right over the top.
Close.
There he is.
Oh yeah.
He's right there.
That's one of those things. No matter how old you are,
you're gonna look up. Everybody looks at helicopters. But yeah, I love helicopters.
Everybody looks up.
But you know, build into your budget to take training. You know, and like these guys said, they try to make it affordable, but this is how these guys make their livings too. There are people out there dedicating their lives to spreading this knowledge, sharing this knowledge, and helping people out. You know, and they're part of our community. You guys hear me talk about community all the time. These are pillars of our community, really, because they hold that knowledge. And a lot of the knowledge in this sphere is really concentrated in few people, really, pockets of people. Spend a weekend with these guys, or instructors in your area if you trust them, whoever. Go take classes, firearms, bushcraft kind of stuff, because I believe everybody should have basic bushcrafting skills.
Medical.
And then medical. That's another one that nobody, I believe, spends enough money on. But build it into your budget. You know, if you've got the money to buy cool stuff, if you can afford a $300 knife, you can damn sure afford to go take a weekend course with somebody.
Yeah, people get lulled into this false sense of security with gear. I always say mindset trumps training and training trumps gear. And it's not this awesome $500 knife that's going to bail you out of a bind. It's your mindset first and then training, right? So there's a lot of different avenues that you can go down that route, but the last thing you want to do is armchair quarterback stuff and just watch YouTube videos, because this is a very tactile kind of skill set. You can watch a million videos on how to do a bow drill friction fire and then think that you got it, and then
you won't have it
until you start that first.
Your hands will tell
time,
you that too.
You realize you don't know jack.
Your shoulders will tell you the first time you try that bow drill fire that, I don't know how to do this yet.
And YouTube's great to be introduced to new things and to new ideas. And if you go out and try them. But the problem that I've had with YouTube videos is the details, the little tiny details that get left out, because oftentimes it's a little detail that someone who does it professionally may take for granted.
Right.
And so I can remember cranking on a bow drill for about 12 hours total, lots of smoke whenever I first tried to do a bow drill, and it was from watching YouTube. And then I went and took training, and like the first 5 minutes and I had a flame. So, but like Joel said, he says it all the time, is you can absolutely spend years and years and years learning that stuff and work through what's good and bad, or you can save a whole lot of that time and train with somebody who knows what they're doing.
And save money too, because you're going to not spend money on equipment you don't need. Again, like between the four of us sitting here, I bet you we probably own over 100 knives. We probably own 100 knives.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident.
We could probably fill the bed of my truck with knives. I have a box on a shelf in my office it's like this. It's literally full to the top of knives.
Because we bought them to try them.
We bought them to try them, exactly. I showed you one this morning. You ever seen this one?
Yep.
I bought it because, I'd never seen it. I wanted to try it.
Yep.
So.
And I'll say, when it comes to classes, I try to tell people, two big roles that don't cost you a single penny. Number one is leave your ego at the door.
Yeah.
Just leave it at the door. I took a vehicle CQB class last summer, and for LE only, like all SWAT guys, door kickers. But a buddy of mine was going that's active SWAT. He said, hey, there's like 2 open spots. You want to come? I said, yeah, I'll go there. And instructor was amazing. Just amazing, mind-blowing class. And the first thing he said was, everybody has to give a reason why they're there. And, and what they're, and I said, I hope I'm the worst guy here. Because every single other shooter here are the ones that are supposed to protect us. Right. So if I'm the best shooter here, we have issues. Mm-hmm. And they laughed at a little bit, but it was like, that's leaving your ego at the door, and not saying like, I'm here to show these SWAT guys
how it's done.
To do it.
Yeah.
That's just not, and the other thing is, come with an open mind and be willing to follow the instructor, even if you quasi disagree. Let him teach the class. There are so many people that I see that I'm like, you paid this guy $500 to tell him how to teach his class. That's just ridiculous,
I think we both know an instructor that loves that.
Well, that's not how we do it in East People. We take it like
it's one of those things where it doesn't matter what it is. It can be it could be in an area that you are familiar with, but they teach it a different way. Listen, that's one of the things that Chris and I really set out when we started Survival Dispatch. There are multiple ways to come up with a solution for a problem. And that's what we always try to show. The way I do it might not be the way Joel does it, but it still gets accomplished. Yeah. And what's funny is you'll say, I've known how to do that for years. And then you'll watch somebody else do it, and you're like,
never seen it done that way before.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And there might come a time where his way works that yours doesn't, even though it's the same issue.
Just get exposed to different ideas. Anytime I'm at any of the events, the training stuff, and anybody who's been around me knows, first, I don't claim to be an expert at anything. I'm not. And when I'm at training events, like when I brought you guys down, I wasn't instructing. Right. I stood back to watch. I'm there to help too, but I'm a student like everybody else is. And I'm not going to tell you guys how to do your thing. You guys are better at a lot of this stuff than I am by far, and I'll admit that. And that's why I'm there to watch too.
Sure.
And I get to go to some events and stuff, not necessarily as a student, but as an observer. A lot of times I get invited, and I love that because I can sit back and watch everybody.
Yeah.
I can watch the students. I can watch the instructors. I can watch everybody, and I participate too. And I'll drop in and offer my advice here and there on occasion as well. But
I go to classes.
Exactly.
I'll be a student
Instructors should always. If you have an instructor, it's like I haven't been to a class in 10 years. Find another instructor for the most part.
Even if it's something I know, because this guy might have a different experience or a different perspective, and he might say one thing out of that whole class that flipped a switch for me, and it's like, man, and for me in my position, in Joel's position, that's something I can now pass on. If it was that valuable to me, it may be that valuable to somebody else. And now as instructors, we get to pass it on. So, I mean, even if you, same thing with pistol, rifle classes, whatever. Just because I know how to shoot doesn't mean I can't learn something from somebody. So, don't let that, be a block.
So we talked a lot about mindset wise. Let's talk about a little bit about gear.
Okay.
What's some gear that you say should always? I'll start with Joel. Some gear that guys should always have when they come to a class that you, or as an instructor, you would love to see them have.
I mean, that's a double-edged sword right there, but it slows things down. A lot of the things that we procure out of nature, we have to harvest them in some kind of way. So at a bare minimum, if somebody's on a tight budget, I say bring a decent knife and a decent
That's sharp.
saw. Yeah. And that, everything else we can figure out. That's the only thing that's going to really slow you down in a lot of the stuff that we teach. But I would also rather them come and see what budget-friendly quality stuff is versus waste money on, I'm not going to name any brands, but we see them from time to time. We're like, oh, that guy's going to hate that thing by day 2. And, I like to have loaners. That's why I have 100 knives.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think something people should bring?
Well,
you were saying it earlier.
Yeah, rain gear. Everybody should have their rain gear, weather adequate clothing. So, it might be 65 when you started out to take the class that morning, and and you're in just pants and a t-shirt, but by 4 o'clock it's raining and 30 degrees. So you need to plan for that. Make sure you bring that stuff, because instructors most of the time are going to give you a list. Here's the things you need to have, but a lot of times that's the things you need simply to take that course and to be there. You're an adult; they're not your to babysit you, so they're going to assume that you're going to take care of food, water, that kind of stuff that you might need to bring, as well as rain gear and weather appropriate clothing.
I had a guy come to a class once, and he asked what he needed to bring, and so we send a list. The list is not mandatory, but I send this list to him, and I told him, at the very minimum on this list, these are the things I would bring. And he's like, I'm just bringing a tarp. That's all I'm bringing.
I'm just bringing a tarp.
Now, it's cold. This is like January in Northwest Arkansas, and it's cold and a little bit dreary outside. And so he brought a tarp, and he did not make it the whole night with just the tarp. Luckily, it was a controlled environment, and that guy learned a really valuable lesson from that. But to tack on to what Joel said, what you said, I always tell people a knife, a folding saw, and bring some gloves. We're gonna be picking up branches. We're gonna be building shelters, doing those types of things. And if you reach over and grab some greenbriers or something like that, you'll know about it really fast without gloves.
I'll make you guys laugh one time. I went to a class. And we started unloading our gear, and this guy's standing there, and you could tell he had the, oh shit. Everybody's dumping getting their bags and stuff out, and he's just like, hey, where's your stuff? And he's like, I was told just to bring my gear list. And he brought the piece of paper. He brought the
gear list? Oh my God.
He printed out the piece of paper.
Wow.
And he's looking around like, I thought this was all we were supposed to bring.
Oh my! Bring your gear list. Oh no!
I always tell
that's a guy that lives in Littoralville right there, boy.
I tell people all the time, bring a pen, bring a notepad.
Yeah, that's what I said. I joked about a pen and paper earlier. I joked about
paper, a cell phone
for pictures.
Yeah. Put it on airplane mode. Don't get distracted. But dude, to be able to snap pictures, like if you walk around with this guy,
or shoot a video of him for a second,
you can take pictures of plants and put them into notes and things like that. If you draw like me, every plant's going to look the same if you try to draw it on a piece of paper. Right. It doesn't work. And I tell people all the time, the gear that you bring to class, make sure it's prepared for class. Don't bring a dull knife.
Yeah.
Don't bring ammo that's still in all the boxes, so that, if we're taking a pistol class, you got 400 boxes laying around at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Empty them all out. Load your mags.
Yeah.
So that, when the instructor's like, all right, get on the line, you're like, hold on. I'll be done in a minute. Mags should be loaded, period.
Yeah.
And always have your gear ready. Get it out of the packaging. Get it out of...
That's something that bothers me at a class when you see somebody roll up. and everything's still in the package. I mean, granted, all right, you're coming for training, awesome.
Yeah.
But you should have at least have some exposure. You know, I call it. I'm not going to use the term Michael, but finger effing things. I like to fondle things and touch them. If I get something new,
sticky fingers.
Yeah, I want to touch it and mess with it, and you know, when they show up with it still in the package, it's like, do you even know how to assemble that, or do you know anything about it? You know, and it's again now that's going to slow down class.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to take a little bit of time away from everybody, but good for you for being there. But if you come to, let's say, a survival weekend and you bring your bug out bag and all your crap's still in the package, this is again stuff you're staking your life on that you've never even opened up and looked at.
Yep. And
which is mind-boggling to me.
Some of that, it depends on, you know, obviously is going to depend on the class, the level of class.
True.
If we're going to literally walk off and live off the land for 7 days, then you're either really bold if you haven't taken any class or had any training, or you've had that training up to that point.
You're sure going to get an education in 7 days.
Oh, you are. But, you know, if you're coming out and you're dipping your toes in the water and trying to figure things out, a knife, a folding saw, and some gloves, and we're going to have all this other stuff like I know Joel does too. We have boxes of stuff that we take to classes that we may not necessarily use on a daily basis, but it's there to show you options. And so that's the other thing, the other side of that coin that I don't want to happen is I don't want somebody to go spend $2,000 on gear that's crap and then show up to class with it and be like, oh man, I didn't know about this thing you're using is awesome. So like you said, it's a double-edged sword. Come prepared for that specific class for sure. And like he said, we're big on customer service. If you don't know, you know, ask.
Yeah, and then I'd say the last thing is when you come to class, number one, come to help others. Yeah. Even if you're a student.
That's I try when I got somebody that's tracking really well, I'll have them start helping teach basically, because then I know the next time I see them, that information we were going over is going to be so much more concrete with that individual because it just helps, especially with, you know, bigger classes and things like that. But I've been in teaching situations where, you know, guys, you know, a lot of testosterone and stuff like that, maybe not necessarily getting along and kind of not sharing information like where we need to be, when, and stuff like that. And it's it never helps. It slows things down.
Oh,
so
boy.
the more helpful you can be. One of the other points I wanted to make is when you leave, right? A lot of our classes are set up as crawl, walk, run, but there's certain things that you'll learn from coming to a class that you see it once, do it once, and you have that for life. And then there's other things that I can show you as many times as I want. You're not going to own that skill until you practice it.
Yeah.
And we're, you know, in a weekend class, you might have a chance to practice it 2, 3, 4 times, and then, you know, in your free time, you should be doing that, doing it.
Yep.
Even if you don't have beautiful woods to come out to and practice, you have a backyard, set up tarp shelters, work on knots, like things that take a little bit of time to acquire, because when you actually need to use that stuff, you don't want to be like, wait, no, it goes over here. You want it muscle memory. Sometimes
Sit
it's
underhand
hard
or
for me
overhand?
Yeah, it's like me and my wife just started taking jiu-jitsu. We did it more because she wanted to, because she wanted some hand-to-hand skills. She wants to be able to just defend herself. So we went and took our first class. The guy showed us very basic 4 initial moves. We're not even on the mat yet. This is still standing up. And every day at home, she's like, let's train. And I got to get up and go through these with her because she is determined to learn these things. And I'm like, you know, we're going back to another class. You know, she's like, but I want to know it. I'm like, you're not going to know it, but I'm proud of her. She's always wanting to practice it. And that's the thing, like you just said. You know, we were talking about knife handling skills earlier. You can do that sitting on the couch at night watching TV. Yeah. Sheath and unsheathing your knife, just moving it around, manipulating it in your hand. You know, how you hold it, what you do with it. You know, it's simple stuff. You know, even for firearms, dry fire and sitting on the couch watching TV.
Absolutely. Mag changes.
You know, dry fire and sight picture, raise, you know, just sight picture. You know, and those are just a couple of examples. Some, you know, it's hard to practice, you know, bow drill fires in the living room, but there are things
but it can be done.
It can be done. If you're single, you know.
I did it once, it didn't go over good.
But there are things you can do,
that
you know.
Spot on the carpet.
The spot on the carpet.
Years ago.
We're going to replace it anyway, you know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, man. We've all done at least one dumb thing. If you're married, you've done at least one dumb thing.
Rooter roll on the carpet is not a good idea either.
Bro, my wife got ticked at me. You remember we bought those smokes? I wanted to test one, and Alan was at the house, and everybody, and we were all sitting in the garden, and I pulled the pin on it and just hooked it in. No, well, the spoon, but no, I just tossed it into a bed, a garden bed. And this damn thing goes off, and it's burning up the yarrow and the mint and stuff. My wife's freaking out. I'm like, baby, them weeds are going to come back like this never happened to them. But I filled her garden with smoke.
And then, I would say we'll end with this. When you go to classes, also go for the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's a big thing to me.
Go for the camaraderie. We're out here today. We're shooting videos, getting tons of information to give out to you guys. But we're also going to go have lunch, and we're going to sit down. We laugh nonstop because the camaraderie is, I feel there's people in the community that you're like, oh, he's kind of into it or she's kind of into it. But when you get to the training part of it, you're like, okay, these are the people
that are doing it. And what do we hear all the time from people? In my world anyway, I don't know about you guys, but in my websites and my social medias, where can I meet other people that think like we do?
Yep.
Exactly.
Where can I go take a damn class? Because those people are vested. They're spending their money and their time to go out there and learn to do this stuff.
Absolutely.
It's a fantastic. And you meet guys that they may be from all over the country. You never know, which is awesome because now you've got friends here and friends there, and
building that community.
Start building that community. And now he's going to say, hey, my buddy lives not far from you. And he does this stuff. Yep. Right now, he can connect you to that guy.
Yep.
It's a great way to network. It's a fantastic way to network. And a lot of egos in this stuff, too, between instructors sometimes. Sometimes. I wish some of them would get along a little better. Yeah. But they're all most of the well-known folks.
We've been really fortunate to interact with other really good instructors in the industry, and it's been good. But talking about that camaraderie, probably my favorite. I love to teach, but one of my favorite things is the campfire at night.
Yeah,
because all the guards come down, everybody's just being themselves. And for me as an individual, I learn a lot from students at that point too. Not just about who they are, but life experiences, and everybody's talking and trading information and building those relationships that are lasting. And it's really so. If you go if it may be past your bedtime, you go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, stay up till 10 or 10:30 and hang around the campfire and shoot the breeze and get to know some of the folks.
Yeah, so, we hope you guys enjoyed this, and this is kind of just a look from guys that have done it for quite a while, and, we challenge you guys, get out there, get training, find a class, find instructors in your area, take the time and invest into yourself, and into your training. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to leave them below. And like I said before, AmericanSurvivalCo.com, go check them out. Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Maine,
Kentucky.
So these guys, they have a broad net.
Oh, not to mention, they'll come to you. Yeah, if you've got a group, like I'm setting one up right now to go to Texas, where I mentioned to you. I got a group in Texas wants a private class. They want some private training. These guys will come to you.
Absolutely.
Hit them up. If you've got a group, you want your homestead evaluated, you want all any of that kind of stuff, give these guys a shout. They'll come to you. So
I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit the like button. We appreciate it, and we enjoy sitting around and just passing on some of our information to you guys. If you have any other questions with regards to training classes, American Survival Co., Survival Dispatch, click the links below, leave comments below, and until next time, be safe.